Before I forget, because I want to talk about that, but you brought the cover of Sidewalk.
Oh yeah,
right behind
that's
Jaron,
a fun story.
And it's a cover of Tom Penny, alling through. Yeah, bring that up here, bro. Maybe JC can pull it off of so the audience can have a better look at it if you're watching it on YouTube camera. Or Spotify.
Tilt it so it doesn't glare.
Yeah,
look at that. I've done this before.
So you,
look at that guy.
Where is that and what?
This is okay. So fun backstory to this.
Yeah,
there's a Sidewalk issue 100, and Sidewalk was at the time the main mag in the UK for a good number of years. They knew I was filming with Tom, skating with Tom a lot, and they were basically saying like, "Hey, can you make sure if there's a photographer there, can you try and get a good photo? Because we'd love." Tom was on their issue number 1, so they wanted Tom on issue number 100 as kind of a thing.
Amazing.
And I had a couple of months heads up, so every time I was out filming with Tom, and he was staying in Orange County at that time, had an apartment down on the beach.
This is number 1?
Yeah, exactly. That was a Wig Warland shot, I believe, Radlands. And, yeah, so...
What's he doing, a kickflip melon or something?
Yeah, over that big hip at the contest.
Oh.
Big, steep hip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little dark in this shot, but yeah.
So that was Sidewalk.
I didn't know Surfer was the part.
Yeah, they dropped the Surfer.
Yeah, exactly.
Good idea.
And so, yeah, so there was this kind of challenge like, hey, can you make sure a photographer gets a picture of Tom?
Mm-hmm.
And skating with Tom is like, you know, you never know what's going to happen kind of thing. And whenever there was a photographer, it just never worked out for what it, you know, just wasn't working out, and the deadline was approaching, and so I started bringing a film camera to take photos with me, because I was like, well, if no one happens to be around, it just seemed that whenever no one else was there and it was just me and him, he would get tricks. And so I was like, well, maybe just wants it chill, and like, I don't know, so I just started bringing my camera around and trying to remember how to take photos again.
Right.
So there's a bunch of duds before this one showed up, and yeah, so we ended up going to Austin, Texas for a shop signing. Me, him, and Heath Kirchart. Pretty random trio.
Okay.
Just for a weekend. And the entire weekend, it poured down. It was like late November, and it poured down with rain super hard. As hard as rain, you know, you can imagine. So we didn't get to skate anything, but I think one evening, me and Heath went to like this new indoor skate park that they built and skated some bowl for a bit. But that was about as much skating as we did. They did the shop signing. We were there for like 2 days, kind of like... The idea was like, oh, well, you're there, you're going there, stay for the weekend and get some footage of these guys. And I didn't put the trip together, it was just like thrown on me. So I'm there with those guys, and in the parking lot of the hotel, the multi-story, as you went around the levels, every up level divider had these walls with a circle in them. And I was like, man, I bet you could fit through that thing, you know?
Okay.
And so the whole weekend we're there, coming and going and doing our thing, I kept seeing these things, and I was like, Tom, man, I bet you could jump through that, So the last day before we checked out, he'd just been sitting in the hotel room the entire time, just chilling, because he didn't want to do anything. He didn't have to. And so I finally prized him off the bed and said, hey, you know, come on, go check this thing out. And he hopped through that thing maybe like 12, 15 times.
Really?
No problem. We filmed it. It's in the beginning of Flip Extremely Sorry part, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. And I shot long lens. There's a couple of actually fisheye shots where I moved the flashes around and did like a full red aesthetic. He gave me a bunch of tries at it, and then one time he clipped his hand on the wall, and he's like, oh, I'm done, you know. So
okay.
That was it. But scored the cover, and...
Sick.
That is a very small... It looks very small.
It was a tight hole. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a very tight space to fit through, like a kung fu. I know. Scratch that, rewind. Yeah, no, that was some serious kung fu ninjas.
Here we go.
Right,
this is the video right here.
Oh, wow.
So,
straight
because
garage.
at this point I was super focused on the photo more than filming. That's why it's just a tripod camera. Just like, all right, just do that.
Right.
That shot looked great, by the way.
Yeah. Let me see if I can catch a flash. Oh!
Right there?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one of the later ones where I moved the red flash on the outside.
Oh, so you moved you had a tint
that was on the other side.
Yeah, the red flash in the back, I put a little filter on it just to kind of give it a little something. Mm-hmm. But prior to putting it behind him, I'd put it in the front. And there's some... if you whoever's looking up on the Instagram, I did actually post some of the outtakes on my Instagram where it's
I'll look
fisheye.
at it. Really?
Yeah, I like the fisheye one kind of better.
That
But
one looks
I
amazing.
think that
they
one
all
looks
look
great.
good.
Aside from the fact that kind of the shadow got cut off here on the mat, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
liked to see that more, but
not digital.
They needed room for the
Not
sidewalk.
digital.
So I had no idea that there was a shadow there
Oh, okay.
until weeks later.
oh, this is the full frame right here.
yeah.
They didn't cut it off for the.
There may be a little cropping,
Okay.
but if it had been digital and I'd seen the shadow, I definitely would have wanted to show it.
Yeah, he
Bro.
couldn't see. He couldn't see it as he shot it.
Why
Yeah,
would
'cause
you?
It was all filmed back then.
What?
That's
But
so
what? Why
old,
would you
man.
want to like have the? Why'd you have the insight to put the red flash in the back just to give it a color
Different
pop?
look.
Because I like Gabeman, Thomas Campbell, Spike Jones. They've all done that shit.
Oh,
I'm
they have?
just copying other people.
shit,
I'm
okay.
not coming up with anything new. You know.
Really?
I guess I never really heard that.
No.
People doing
Me
that.
either.
I didn't really know because I wasn't really looking into it.
Yeah, look up old Spike Jones, Thomas Campbell, and definitely Gabeman. They all dabbled in that. Gabeman's slap photos had a lot of little splashes of color. Matt Price does a lot of that.
Matt
So
Price?
has done
Okay.
dabbled in that.
Because I've shot with the world's best photographers, man, and nobody's ever put a splash of color on me.
Aw.
Just white.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I don't know.
No, they have to color correct me.
Yeah,
That's why, pale dubs.
Yeah, and it might have been that I might have even been thinking branding at the time
Okay.
because
Oh.
of
The
that.
X is S, it's red. Yeah, that makes
I like
sense.
it. It's good.
Yeah.
JC's looking for. You can't find it on the.
No, it's deep in my Instagram.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wait. I think
early
no.
post.
No. Anyway,
There's a lot of junk on there. I'm not very good at that thing.
If he finds it, we'll pop it up. But
Can-
this is a great Tom Penny story, man. It's a good.
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
And-
that's a great photo.
Literally hadn't skated in days. Stepped on his board, like right around the corner, rolled up to it, and just started hopping
Started
through
hopping.
it like it was nothing.
It looks big.
Yeah, it was about the same size on the other side.
Okay.
It was maybe a couple of inches because right there's where the up ramp starts. You know.
Yep.
So it was like gradually, but yeah, it was.
I mean, that foot placement too. That's a.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude.
you got a photo incentive?
Yeah.
On the
For
cover
days.
like that?
For
For
days.
Yeah,
days.
that's a good S photo incentive right there. Anybody that's listening, this photo is insane.
There's
man.
textbook.
It's,
It's got checks all the boxes, right? It's not our first
but
rodeo.
isn't it funny though? Because like when
Hey,
you're
fun fact,
Oh, please, go
Red.
ahead.
When I first started getting involved in skating, getting photos taken of me, the magazine in London at the time was Rad magazine. Awesome dudes that ran it. Shout out TLB. Thank you for everything. And the designer there, Ian Lawson, good dude. He gave me a top tip. He's like, red t-shirts and yellow t-shirts will get printed way more often than if you're just wearing a white, grey, or whatever. Because back then when they were shooting photos, it just popped.
Popped.
And if you look back at any old photos of me, I've always had red or yellow.
really.
Trying to make sure he gets in there.
Yeah, so it kind of made up for the lack of skating. But
That's so,
Oh, dude.
so interesting.
so something like that again. Having seen that was just why it would have come into my mind.
But do you think that having a red...
Because look how grey it is. Look, there's nothing going on.
If this was,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I'm
the-
saying. The pop of color
Yeah.
works.
Big
That's what I'm
time.
saying. Like you nailed it.
And Tom's got his head to toe blue and
He's usually got
blue
the
and
blue,
white
yep,
thing.
yep.
Yeah, he's always color coordinated. So
Right.
you got to keep up with that.
I don't know, man. Just like,
So you're saying he made it through that 15 times before?
A
he
whole
hit-
bunch of times, yeah, and
before he hit
then
himself.
clipped his hand on one, just like knocked
Yeah,
it on the
yeah.
wall, and was like, dude,
Yeah,
I'm done. Yeah.
that'll do it.
I think it's funny because
He maybe bailed a couple, but he
Yeah.
landed a bunch
Yeah,
for me.
and got
because
through
I didn't know what I was
flawlessly.
doing. I'm like, should we try for? Can we? Yeah. He just kept circling around, doing it, and
Got it.
I think skating is so interesting because like when Tom Penny is alling through that, he probably doesn't even realize that his back foot is like tweaked like that. Sometimes you don't feel stuff like that. You're just skating.
I mean, he's definitely one of the more instinctive dudes on a board.
Yeah.
but he's also pretty fucking aware.
But you think so?
People
they're-
like to like, oh, Tom's so stony, Tom's out of it, and yeah, he is. Back then especially.
I just think
but
that's natural.
he was-
And you don't know that that's going on to me.
He's natural, but he's like aware of his skating for sure.
Like you think he's like, oh, let me tweak my back foot so it looks more.
He knows
stylish.
what looks good and feels good, and he's able to do it.
Okay, I'll believe.
you know?
I'll believe you.
Yeah.
I'll believe you.
Just from
I just don't think-
when I've heard him talking about skating, like how he's more aware than people think.
You know the Josh Kalis kickflip where he tweaks the shit out of it?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
What, like, did he say on the show if he realized it? I don't even think he realized it was that tweaked.
He doesn't realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom just knows what he wants in style, so I could see that he was he's not going to half.
He's just doing what feels good.
But there you go.
You know what I mean?
There's the close-up ones. There's a couple of those.
I would tell you this, Mike.
But see, I couldn't.
This is way better.
Well, because if I had seen what I was shooting, I would have put a fill flash on his face, so he wasn't a complete.
dark.
Right there, he looks like a Batman or something. You don't know who he is. And he's all shadows on his face, So.
I think the long lens. I think the splash. I think this is a great cover. Like
Thanks, man.
that's
Definitely.
That's why I brought it.
I love it. I love it, bro.
No, it's definitely something I'm really proud of. When I look back on it, I'm like, oh. And it's funny, actually, I was back in the UK, not this summer, the summer before, and Andy Horsley, the guy who ran the magazine back then, he had, when magazines would get something.
Blueprint ad.
There you go.
Yeah.
When magazines would get a cover or something, they had a giant print out of it that was like 4 feet by 3 feet, and he brought it for me, and he's like, "Hey,
No way.
And I was just like, I couldn't fit it in my car at the time. I was like, I'll get it from you later, and I never got
You
it.
never got it.
yeah,
It's like getting the big check.
I know, yeah, it's exactly. It's like
Just
one of
getting
those
the big check.
absurdly big things, but I was like, that thing's kind of sick. I don't know what I'd do with it, but I'd want it.
I'm sure that it's around. So I wonder if I'm in here, Dubs. Let me see if I can
think you're in
find it. Maybe.
What year is
Maybe
that?
I have an ad in here. I don't know.
What year is it?
I randomly saw a Pop War ad in there, and I was like,
Yeah, I
oh,
saw the Pop War,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was like,
20 years
cool.
ago.
Cool brand.
20 years.
20 years. Sounds about
January.
do you,
right.
have, do you have by chance have any other cool Tom Penny stories?
I mean, every time you're with Tom, it's a cool story.
But there's got to be another thing, because you did skate and travel with him a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, he's the folklore about his skating and his skills is he lived up to it. When you see it go down in real life, it's I'm really bad at pulling stories out of thin air unless someone reminds me of something, and then suddenly it'll like open up the
Right.
the portal in the vaults,
totally
and I'm like, oh
understand
yeah.
that.
Well, how about this?
But-
go ahead. Sorry.
That's not
Generally speaking, like it was just always magical to be around the dude. Like especially like 'cause the first time I ever saw Tom, I can send you this picture, but he was a tiny kid. If you look on Read and Destroy social media, first time he got a photo in a magazine, he's like 12, or he looks like he's 8, but basically he's doing a giant melon grab off a jump ramp coming at you, blue sky, which is weird for England. And he was just this tiny kid, like jump ramp killer. And to see that little kid, just the arc, the trajectory he took, and just, I was kind of not with him. I wasn't like in his hometown, but England's a small place. You'd see him regularly, and then that whole thing of him coming to America and just seeing that all, it's just like, dude, it's crazy to see that.
Was there a buzz in England at that time where it's like, dude, there's this kid?
Oh, everyone knew right away.
Right
It was
away.
clear
Yeah.
as day,
Right.
Once he started showing up at a few events and contests, and there's
Oh, wow.
there's a few pictures from that day that are
That's
just
amazing.
like bonkers, and he was
Look at that little ramp.
tiny
Look at that
dude.
little Dubs. I would kick that thing over. I
love
wouldn't even
that.
skate that thing.
That was fun. Those are the days.
Yeah, he was doing like giant airwalks, 360s, like all the cool jump
That
ramp
looks like
tricks.
Charlie Brown's little Christmas tree,
Oh, yeah.
That thing's
That's what you're talking about.
decrepit.
And then from there, he became like the mini ramp killer that you saw in the
Yeah.
old Manic Marty part and stuff. And then just like, hit the streets and it was done. Everyone,
Isn't that funny, man?
everyone knew.
Some people just have it.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
Yeah,
Tom Penny.
really, really good skater. So
Crazy, dude.
yeah, people think he's got that kind of like spacey, stony
Yeah.
thing going on, which he does to a degree. But he's smart enough. He knows what's going on.
That's the
around
thing
him.
with Tom Penny that I was, because like I never met him before, and I thought the same
You
thing.
saw him in Spain a lot, right?
I saw him in Spain,
Yeah.
but for the first time he comes up, he's like, "Oh, what's up, Chris? How you? Nice to meet." Like he knew
Yeah.
who I was, and
Yeah.
I was like,
He'll reference
Oh, no,
something
he-
really
Whoa,
specific
dude,
and
like-
deep that you're like, how the fuck do you know that?
because he's like
You
a
know?
fan. He's like
Exactly.
a skate nerd. Fan.
That's why when you're like, oh, do you think he meant to put his foot like that? Because he knows what looks good and he knows
Yeah.
what feels good. So he's like, yeah, I'm doing like that because
Right,
I can.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I was just surprised that he knew who I was, but then after like hanging out with them, I'm like, dude, this dude like he knows.
Oh, he's on his
He's
shit.
such a fan of
For sure.
skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
That's rad.
Right.
Little skate rat.
Exactly.
Skate rat.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
still is. It's just
still
cool,
is.
cool to see.
I thought it was cool. Me finding him back then was more of like seeing those Europe contests.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I first saw that, I was like, that dude stood out like no one.
Ooh.
Like, what footage is this from?
I'm not sure where that's from, but that warehouse was a very short-lived. I could tell you a story about that thing. That was a short-lived skate park that lasted about 6 months. The guys that ran it just basically never paid a single bill. Had rave parties in there, and then the place got shut down. And then we broke in and skated it for another 2 weeks, and
This is off of the extras on Menigmati.
Yeah, this is young Tom.
Oh, yeah.
This would have been shot, I believe, by a guy from Oxford called Sunhill. He's got a lot of good footage of him.
So sick.
What was that like though? Because everyone in that video had filmed like a new part, and then you just had to like go and find all this old footage to kind of showcase how special.
At this point, Tom was kind of on his hiatus, again, first hiatus, where he'd been to America with the Flip team and then didn't like it. Started floating around Europe and kind of was just a little bit hard to track down and get a hold of. And so any footage of him at the time that was current was pretty freaking rare. So it was kind of just out of necessity that we ended up, well, we'll just do this retrospective kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I believe that's how that all went down. It was just too hard to get like current footage of him because he was doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's crazy back then. Literally, how would you like
So
mailing?
at this point, those first mini ramp tricks where he was like, "This is the same ramp, and now the ramp's got better, and look how much better he is." He was killing.
He's killing.
That's me in the background right there.
Really?
Yeah.
You got BGPs.
BGPs.
Which one? The striped shirt? or
I had
no?
like a red hat on and
okay.
like a blue fan. It doesn't matter. But yeah,
No, I wanna
I'm on
see
the
you.
I'm on the deck there. That green shirt
No way.
on the right. Yeah,
That's you all.
Santa Cruzed up. Yeah.
No way.
But yeah, Tom, at that point, you already knew there was something different about him. I think
Right.
at that point he rode for maybe New Deal Flow in the UK. Don't know if he rode for Flip yet. At
I
that
had
point.
those pants.
But look at that thing, that back slip. It's like, dude, come on.
What pants are those?
It looked like fuck
They were
pants.
everybody's
They looked like
pants, all
fuck
in
pants
one.
to me.
I think they
But they probably
were.
weren't.
Big pants.
No,
Maybe
they
they
were.
Yeah.
The late body varial back lip thing in a second. Check this out. Hang on. After this, look at this
It's a
one.
gnarly ass line.
Yeah,
That's
he would just keep. Look at this trick right here.
Wow.
Oh
Like, wait,
my god.
At that point, we were like, it's done.
Wait, how
This-
old is this kid? Right
That
now?
the
He
front.
was still like, I don't know.
15?
It's weird because him and Jeff Rowley were like looked way younger than they were, it seemed like,
Okay.
because at that point he looked like he was only 10 or 11. He was maybe like 13, 14 I don't know, maybe younger, I don't know, it's hard to tell.
And that shirt.
But him and Jeff were coming up then, and they were standing out beyond all of us. Like, they put us to shame. We were just like, my jaw was on the deck right there.
I gotta
Like
watch
that.
this in slow motion. So
Yeah.
he goes up.
Back.
Like a late
Back
body
late-
varial. I don't even know how you describe that. To back lip, to the revert. But like smooth as. It should be a shocking mess, but he did it like like it was cool. On the way to the store.
Isn't that funny, man? Yeah, right.
Like, I could just do this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's funny how
Amazing dude to
some
see.
people just come on the scene, man, and just like
Yeah.
are special.
Straight naturals.
Yeah,
Special,
dude.
man.
Did he get back up and keep
That-
going?
Yeah,
took another run.
They're like,
He said, "Fuck it, that one was so good.
Look at
I'm gonna
this.
just keep going."
Wow.
yeah.
But they're like, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
for
ahead.
Yeah, no, we were happy to see all that, and then some.
Nobody's ready to drop back in. That's amazing.
No one wants to go after that.
Yeah,
They're like, hey,
exactly.
dude, I ain't going.
Hey, Ron,
so
you gonna
sick.
go? No, man, no. You go ahead, Bill.
So yeah, to sort of see that appear
Right.
on the scene, and then
Look at
to
that.
see
Everybody. Wait a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt. Was that at a demo or was that just a
that
normal
was
session?
I think it might have even been a contest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like a little jam contest.
because I was gonna
type
say
of
there's a
situation.
lot of people.
I think it was a
watching.
contest because I want to say in the audio the guy's like, 15 seconds left, and that's where he got up and did that one extra drop in. Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
That
People,
makes
that
sense.
wasn't a normal session. That many people, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe people came from all around to see this kid Tom Penny skate.
after that they would have.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, once they seen that, they knew. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that you got to see it from that point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being in the old game of that as long as I have, there's been a few where you've sort of seen them. Like the more recent one, like that was Jocelyn for Etnies when he sort of appeared on the Plan B video.
Plan B, yeah. He came out of
He-
nowhere, man.
Got on Etnies 2 months before the Plan B video, and we were putting together a little welcome to the team thing. He filmed the whole part in like 3 weeks. It was like so good.